Today we're going to be sharing with you one of the techniques we use for dream analysis. For people who have difficulty expressing their feelings, dream therapy can be an especially helpful tool to outwardly express emotions that are buried down deep. The technique that we're going to share with you today uses word association to make meaning of the symbols in a dream. Okay, so do you have a dream you want to share?
So the dream that comes to mind for me is when early in my healing journey, I had a dream about your mom.
Okay.
Yeah, and in that dream, it was, so I was in a car. There was a few females in the car. And I was in front of your mom's house. So I don't know if I was dropping you off or I was picking you up. So I was on the road. And I remember opening, it was a 4-door car, and I was opening the door for you. And then I went into I think it was like a hatchback or a trunk to grab the bags.
Okay.
And I think as I was grabbing the bags, I noticed to my left when I looked towards your mom's house that there was a window, and I saw your mom kind of looking at me, but also calling me over. So I believe I dropped the bags. And then I walked over to her, and I believe your mom's house had it was like a split bungalow. So it had one level when you came into the house, and then there was another level like with the 4 or 5 stairs, and that's where she was. She was on that second tier, and there was a statue or something in front of her, and she was naked behind it.
Okay.
So I remember I was only there for maybe a minute, and she was kind of pointing to you. She was pointing outward towards the car. And again, I was just trying to pay attention because I didn't want to look at her. I was just trying to look at her eyes, really. And then I was there for a minute, and then I was kind of nodding my head, but I was really trying to lean into what she was saying. And then I turned around and I walked back out of the house and towards the car. And then that was it that I remember. Yeah, it was a short dream, but I do remember that. And again, that was early in my healing process. I do remember that.
And how did you feel when you woke up?
The feelings I had when I woke up was I remember being very emotional, touching, like I felt it in my heart. And maybe because I knew your mom before, she was only with us or that I knew her for a little while. So it was opportunity that I actually met her, but it felt like she was trying to tell me something, or express something. So I was just trying to, when I woke up, I was trying to process what that was.
Did you feel, like dreams tend to be confusing. Were you confused when you woke up?
Yeah, I felt a little confused. I mean, often when I wake up in the middle of the dream, which I felt that's what it was, in the middle of the dream, I felt like it was, I remembered it. And maybe that's when I woke up, because it was like almost fresh in my mind. And yeah, I was trying to analyze, did I just dream that? Or was it, because it was very clear, it was the car, her house, it was her. I was trying to visualize why she was naked, the statue, like I was just trying to analyze everything, what did it mean?
Okay, so let's go through this symbol by symbol, and we'll do some word association.
Sure.
To see if we can make meaning of it. Okay? Okay, you're in a car. What does a car mean to you normally?
A car would mean to me is transportation, right? From one place to another.
Okay, so a journey or...
Yeah, a journey.
Yeah, okay. And then I was in the car and there were some females and you were in the car.
Yeah, so for me, maybe the females represented, early in my healing, I've always had challenges maintaining healthy relationships with women. So I think maybe that could have been, that is, you know, that the women and you know, that it's okay now, right? And I'm much healthier, so it's just maybe seeing them that I can actually get along with, you know, with females.
Well, it's interesting because you just said females, like no one in particular, is kind of like just, you know, females in general. And then there was me, so I was more specific, and then a bunch of females.
Right.
What do you make of that difference?
Well, I think that you represented more than just the female that was trying to get you to get to know you, actually, for who you are as a person, as a human. And maybe in the past it's always been other, maybe that's why it's been unhealthy. It's been other reasons, right?
Okay. And then you're at my mom's house.
I think your mom's house, especially looking into the window, represented more like vulnerability, right? I was looking into her, right? Her house, right? Like her sanctuary, her really truly who she was, right? Because she wasn't really vulnerable. So I felt like she, you know, I know being invited into your mom's house was a big deal. And that she was there and she was telling me something, so, and she was naked, so I felt like it was, you know, her house represented vulnerability, right? You know, that's who she was, right? She lived in a window to her life almost.
And it was split level. What do you make of that?
I think because I was on the main level and she was about the next level, which is only 4 or 5 stairs up. Maybe when I was looking up, it was almost like she was in a place of authority, right? And because it was early in my healing process, I still thought I wasn't equal to a parent or an adult, right? I was still like almost like a child, immature child, and I was looking up for guidance. I was looking up to, you know.
Interesting. And then you said there was the car and then the trunk and there were some bags.
Yeah, for me, I think I remember in the dream, because it was females in the car and it associated with bags, I think it was almost like, you know, because I think we all have baggage and we came with it, right? It's like when you move from, you know, when you get your stuff, you move into, you know, you get all your stuff put in a car, there's so much stuff in there, it's all you, it's intimate to you, who you are, right? So maybe the bags represented the baggage of, you know, some of the females in my life. Your
emotional baggage.
Yeah, correct. But also when she called me over, I dropped the bags, right? So it was like I didn't want to take the baggage with me, so I wanted just to make sure that I focus on her and what she was saying to me. You know, it's almost like if I felt like I needed to not be occupied with 4, 5, 6 things, that I needed to be present. I needed to be just kind of lean in when she was talking, so I needed to listen, I needed to hear her.
What do you think the trunk, what does a trunk mean to you? A car trunk?
I think a car trunk means to me is, it could be where we store things, right? Maybe baggage, right?
Well, and you had bags.
Yeah. So I think it's maybe baggage from what I'm carrying, either from myself or from some of the women in my past, perhaps.
Right. So, and you had females in the car, and then you had the baggage, so maybe it's female baggage from your past.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And then there's a window. My mom was looking out a window. What does a window mean to you?
I think a window means it's almost like a glimpse into someone's personal space, right? The vulnerability of someone's house, right? Where they live, right? It's just like that's where you can be vulnerable. You can just kind of be yourself. So maybe it was a glimpse of me looking into who she was truly, really. And because she was naked too, right? So.
Right. Yeah. You said, okay, so she was naked and she was behind an object.
And the object could have been her shell, because she was very like a Iron Lady almost kind of figure, right? Very kind of not stone cold, but she rarely showed emotion. So she always hid behind that statue or that wall or that armor she had. So in the dream, I remember in the dream when I was looking up, the armor, or what it was, the statue in front of her, maybe represented her armor, but it was stationary. It wasn't, and I remember it being stationary because as she was talking, she kind of actually moved off it, but the statue was stationary. It didn't like, it wasn't both together. It was here, and then she was moving, kind of pointing at the same time. So it's almost like she was coming out of her shell.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think that's how I used to be in the beginning. I used to have this thick armor, these walls of like, no one's gonna hurt me, no one's gonna touch me. Like, you just start creating these walls of armor inside you, around your heart. And I think I felt like that's how I was in the beginning as well. So it was similar to what your mom went through.
And it's interesting because I always say that you're so much like my mom, because she could never be vulnerable. She could never express her emotions, and she couldn't get close emotionally or intimately. And she had this armor, right? And so it's just so interesting that that's what you picked up on and that's what you're doing, because it's just perfect. But and I also say you're so much like her, and that's exactly what has happened to you. As you went through the healing process, you slowly walked away from that, came out from behind that armor.
Yeah, so maybe, because I remember the dream happening early in my healing process. So maybe for me, when I saw your mom, it was like stone cold Iron Lady. And then in the dream, she was moving away from it. So maybe it gave me a little bit of motivation, is that, wow, because I saw her as that, right? Stone, like, no emotion and strong. That maybe it was time that if she could, in my dream, she could move away from her shell and break through, that maybe I could do it as well, right? And anyways, maybe that's why I remember it, is the fact that in the dream she was vulnerable. And I would never imagine your mom being that vulnerable. And I thought maybe if I could do it, I think it was important that I could at least try to do it.
That's so nice. Okay, and then you said my mom was calling you, and you dropped your bags and you walked towards her.
Yeah, I think it's, again, just, I wanted to be present in the moment. I think that's what it taught me, which is to because I think often, you just busy with a lot of things, and then it's like, when someone's talking or things are happening, you're just not present in the moment because you're thinking about 4, 5, 6 different things. So I wanted to drop the bags and not focus on the bags and carrying them or whatever else I was thinking was associated with those bags. Is that I wanted to approach her because it felt like she had something important to tell me, and maybe a message. I don't know.
And do you think that that's kind of where you were in your healing process? You wanted to kind of get rid of that baggage that was influencing your life negatively?
I think so, yeah. I think it could have been. And also the fact, and then in addition to that, is that I wanted to hear the words of someone that's, a wise word or some encouragement to keep going, to be careful, watch out, and just things that I could, just carry on to the next phase, right, into the next step of my process.
And then you said that my mom points, and you looked into her eyes.
Yeah, I think I looked into her eyes, and again, she was naked, is because I think for when I first began my journey, I felt like my experience with women was more like a physical appearance, right? I judge more on physical appearance, where now now I'm more mature about it, and I almost kind of focus on a woman being a human being, right? So just kind of focusing on their eyes and their soul, and just, you know, and just be again, just leaning in when they're talking and not be distracted with everything else.
And then you walk back to the car.
Yeah, so I walked back to the car. I think that's where the dream ended. I often have just these short little spurts of dreams, like, you know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but I walked back to the car and it ended. But I think it was because I needed to, you know, reconnect and then, you know, just focus and not walk away, not run, right? And so I felt like I needed to go back to carrying the bags or dealing with the luggage, dealing with either, you know, getting the car, getting all the bags out. And
Well, do you think that, like, if you were in the car and if you were in the car and on a journey, then maybe that was like just a stop along the way to get some words of wisdom and encouragement, and then you got back on the journey?
yeah, it could have been. But, you know, also because I felt like I was taking a bag out of the car, but perhaps it was, and that's what it is part of the journey was to, you know, just to deal with the baggage as you move along with life, right? You kind of process it, focus it. It could have been your mom issue with you. Maybe your mom was connecting me to you, or that connection, or she couldn't, she was using me. But maybe the baggage was that small bag is that I dropped it there, and then I was trying to process it there, and then there was more bags in the car that I had to go from one place to another and then deal with another bag. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, so I know I'm backtracking a little bit, but I think I skipped one. So my mom points to something. What did she point to?
When she was pointing, I remember her, again, the object was in front of her, it was stationary, and she was moving a little bit away from it. She was pointing towards you, like towards the car, almost like a message of telling me, like, take care of her, watch out, you know, these are things she likes, maybe things that she was not vulnerable at the time because she was behind her shield, her wall of armor, and that she couldn't do that when she was here, right? She couldn't express it, she couldn't be vulnerable, right? And now breaking out of the shell, it's like now she's now realizing that, you know, now she's becoming more, well, in the dream it was like she becoming more brave, more compassionate. She was becoming more connected. Maybe the connection was connecting me to you, right? That connection there, because she couldn't do it. So just kind of sending me a message of just be careful, like, you know, watch out for her, take care of her. It could have been things like that. And then almost telling me what you like, and, you know, I think she almost kind of felt it, but she didn't, it was hard for her to express it maybe, so. Anyways, maybe that's what it was.
It's so nice because it's almost like she's passing the torch, like she's saying, I couldn't do these things for Rebecca, but you can. So here, I'm going to give you the advice, and I'm going to give you, you know, some information about Rebecca so that you're the one that can now protect her and nurture her and take care of her.
Yeah. And almost like you have the potential to do this. Maybe that was what it was, right? You can, maybe, because it was so early, is that you have the potential to do it, perhaps, right? So.
And you have done it.
Yeah. A lot of work, but yeah, a lot of hard times, but, you know, you just got to stick with it. Again, it's just being brave, being courageous, being compassionate, being connected. Those are the big things, right? You have to become vulnerable, or else what's the point, really?
I love that dream.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this technique? Do you think that the word association and looking at each symbol in the dream was helpful?
Yeah, the word association is very helpful, and dream analysis, I think, is very helpful because it helps you capture a lot of these things that maybe your mind is trying to express and trying to release, these thoughts and trauma that have been stuck in your body for so long. And, you know, I can't remember how many dreams I just kind of let go and they were significant, and, you know, they're gone, right? So I often actually, even now, and especially in the beginning, I got into the habit of writing down dreams because it was so important. They were telling me things, right? So, and when you do that, it's a good indication, when you write them down, is that you start to progress, and you start, like, when you look back and you say, oh my gosh, look at all these dreams I've had, maybe it was telling me something, right? So yeah, it's a great tool. great tool to use,
Yeah,
right? So,
absolutely. I think writing down dreams is really important because then you can see patterns, you can see exactly how far you've come. And I think doing this type of analysis is good because they're so confusing sometimes. Because sometimes they're very strange, the things that come into your dreams, and you're like, why would I ever dream about that? But then when you break it down, you're like, oh, right, that's what it means. And then it all makes sense, and it's sort of a reflection of where you're at in your mental health at that time.
yeah. So, yeah, it makes sense. It's totally valuable for me, and it helped me. So, yeah, it's good. So there was also other dreams, like food dreams and stuff that I just had. So it's making me hungry. So
I want to hear about the food dreams. They're the best.
After we eat now, I gotta go eat.
You're making me sleepless. You're making me sleepless.